Hi and welcome to my channel. I will try and keep this as short as possible, but today's going back to these slider controls on these graphic equalizers. Maybe a preamp like this is something that's got slider controls and you're cleaning them. So I'm going to kind of mix two videos into one a little bit really. Because I'm going to go back to the stuff I used in a previous video. Actually, I didn't use this in a previous video. I used the other detox in the, which one was it? I think it was this one here I used in the previous video, which a few people said not to use on sliders. I did use it, and the sliders weren't great afterwards. They're very, very sticky and jerky. After a little while, they seem to come back to their old self a bit, but there's nowhere near as perfect as they were. I did go back to that little graphic equalizer, and I did try to use the detox fader, and I did actually buy some other stuff as well. This is especially for sliders. I tried that, never brought it back to where it should have been. You know, got it a tad better maybe. It was hardly anything in it really, to be honest with you. So I'm not saying I ruined that unit, but it weren't back to, you know, the nice smooth silky movement as you would get with a slider. I've had a couple of other units since, and I did use this particular stuff in them units. Still again, never really worked 100%, never really brought it back to its old self. It cleaned the unit out and I got rid of the crack on there, but the slider was still, it wasn't like where it should be. And also I used this, and I needed to use another one, I can't remember what it was now, especially for sliders, supposed to have some silicone grease, all that kind of stuff in it, but it never really brought it back to 100%. So you've got to be very, very careful cleaning these sliders. And it's even got a warning on here, on this particular unit here, saying there, caution, audio equalizer, volume and balance controls, do not clean with any commercial clean and solvents. They actually warn you on this. So yeah, that's obviously for the volume and that, but you know, also take into account the sliders as well. Be very, very careful. You know, it depends how you want them. If you want them back to how they actually were, then obviously be very careful. You're not too bad at maybe even jerking a little bit or something like that, not being 100% nice, silky smooth, then maybe it don't matter so much. But the other part of this video is actually concentrating on the little bit of it's kind of like a shielding, I should say, I'm not too sure, but it stops the dust getting into the unit because you've got these holes here obviously at the front, and dust will get in there, and this is what's causing the problems. Now on some of these units, on the back, I think it was on that actual little graphic line as well, it's kind of like a mesh, kind of like a fabric mesh with slits in, and the mesh catches the dust. You take the front off, you give the mesh a cleaner wipe, you could even maybe put it underneath a soapy tap or something like that. Clean it up and put it back together. Or you could even maybe make up your own mesh and put it at the front, something like that. It won't be that hard, just a piece of cloth. I should imagine it's fairly easy to do, just a piece of cloth, and you're just going to cut. You won't have to cut a gap or anything, just literally cut down each slit and make your own kind of front for it, you know, your own kind of like a protection for it where the dust won't get in. But the reason I'm putting this video together today, and it's happened in a couple of other units I had as well, it wasn't a piece of cloth, it was actually a piece of foam. And this is what this unit had, a piece of foam. Now I'm going to show you the foam. I can't show it all because it literally fell apart in my hands. I literally pretty much got to this unit in the nick of time, shall we say. It probably may have had another year or so down the line of moving the faders up and down, but after a while it will disintegrate. Now Techmo did put a video up, well I say a video, he puts lots of videos where he gets these little 8-track cartridges and says that that little bit of foam pushing the tape against the tape head deteriorates in times and just disappears, like this kind of stuff. So I'm actually going to show you, this is just a part of that foam. This foam was a long piece of foam, covered the actual whole unit there with the slits in. Let's put this aside so I don't get no more dust on that. I'm just going to put it down there out the way, so I do beg my pardon, my head, should I say. So yeah, this, like I say, this unit, so you know, when you've got this, I've got this dust pan here, because this literally just falls apart. See, if you can just see that, hopefully you can see that. I'm just putting a very small amount of pressure on there, and it's just turning, hopefully you can get that, because I won't be able to do many takes with this. It's just falling into dust. There you go. And hopefully you can see all the dust there. My hand's all full of dust and that. That's very, very light pressure on that. So you can imagine that slider going up and down. Obviously there's a gap between it anyway, but after a period of time it's just going to fade away kind of thing, and it's just disintegrate. You're going to move the unit around, a little bit of bumping kind of thing. I've only got to just give it a little drop, and it just completely disintegrates. That could quite easily get in them sliders and cause you quite a few problems. I mean, there's quite a lot of stuff there, and that can quite easily build up underneath, and that would be very, very awkward to get out, I think. So just be careful, like I say, if you've got an old bit of unit, if you've got something new, it's not going to be a bit of foam in there falling apart. But if you've got an old unit, something like this, maybe it's 50 years old or thereabouts, 40 or 50 years old, maybe just double checking what's behind that actual fascia. If you've got a piece of foam, if you have, maybe, you know, feel how it is, and maybe it's time to replace that piece of foam with your own piece of cloth or something. You could make up quite easy yourself, put at the front, a little bit of cloth webbing kind of thing, and you know, stop that dust getting in using that, and saving you having any more aggro later on. So that's it, that's the whole point of this video really, is just double check that foam. And even with this fader, this detox fader, it doesn't really do the job 100%, that's for certain. And the other products I've used, which is another detox little tube here, especially for faders with silicone grease and all that stuff, that didn't do it neither really 100%. So you know, I would say clean these at the last resort, you know, when you really have to clean them, because you know, especially if you want to keep that silky smoothness on them. I haven't found anything yet. Maybe there is some other stuff out there you can squeeze in to get them back to normal. Obviously, you're going to have to take the actual control completely apart. Maybe that's another way of doing it. But just be a bit careful, maybe. Don't get too carried away with squirting one of these in there. Just one very small squirt, and double check that foam. Until the next video, I'll say thanks for watching. See you all soon.